right? We don't waste any time, and we're really a go for it society. And it's interesting. You can tell a Chicagoan when you're outside of Chicago. We're definitely our own culture.
That is really true, and I can say the same thing. I love to travel, but I love being at home. I love it here. So what are some of your favorite places or things about Chicago?
Other than the food, which is a big obvious. I mean, God, I love to eat when I come home. It's amazing. I love how, I know it's kind of trite, and everyone in a big city can say this, but I love how every culture is represented, and we intermix. I mean, the neighborhoods are segregated, sure, but we definitely intermix really well compared to other cities. I mean, you can go to the mall and we look like a rainbow coalition sometimes, right? You'll have an Indian guy with a Mexican guy with a Japanese guy, just all hanging out, and our cultures intermix really well. And I've seen that work the best in Chicago over anywhere else.
You're really right. I never thought about that because you kind of take it for granted. But the diversity is definitely a plus, and I think that's a plus when you go outside of Chicago because you're not intimidated or not used to seeing other people, so you can interact really well. So I never thought about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great point. So now tell us about your music. How would you describe your style?
I heard it put a really fun way the other day. Somebody described my music as Latindian, meaning Latin.
Awesome.
Which is a cool word, right? Meaning Latin and Indian, because there's definitely a lot of Bollywood and Latin influences, fused in my music. So I really dig that word. I'm going to start using it more often, Latindian.
I do too. I really like that. And that was going to be a little bit of my question because you have an Indian background, but you're classified in kind of the Latin genre. So that's pretty interesting how they infuse. Both cultures are infused in your music.
Yeah, and they infuse a lot easier than you would think. I'm surprised and lucky actually that people haven't done it before. But it's surprising. The beats are very similar, and the cultures are very similar, and even down to the food is very similar, right? So I'm surprised nobody's fused them before, but very lucky that they haven't, because I'm thankfully benefiting from that fusion.
Yes, and you do. I've been checking you out with your website and your music and your pictures, and you just have very